What's going on, you guys? Nick here with SQL Technologies, and I'd like to welcome you to your first class on SQL, Structured Query Language. So, I'm not sure if anybody has ever heard of SQL in their life, but I want you to think of the entire spectrum of software that we have available in the world. In each of these software programs, they utilize data. Data is going to be the heartbeat. It's going to be the soul of every single software program that you come into contact with. I don't care if it's Facebook, it can be in the spectrum of web programming, it can be desktop programming, it can be within mobile applications, it does not matter. Data is going to be the main driver. Without data, we can't develop any type of analysis. We can't allow that software program to do anything for us if we do not have data. And that's what SQL is all about. Okay, SQL is a programming language designed for managing data held within relational database management systems. And if you don't know what a relational database management system is yet, do not fret, but it's all about data. Every single software system has a data component. SQL is what allows us to retrieve these large sums of data in relatively short amounts of time. So, where's this data at? Well, it's located in databases. No duh. Specifically, relational databases. Relational databases are nothing more than databases in which each of the tables can be referenced to one another in some way. Okay? Each table that you create, and if you don't understand what a table is, I'll be sure to show you that a little bit later once we get into the programming part of it. But each table has what's called a primary key for each row of data. This is nothing more than an ID number. Okay? One ID number of one table that references one set of data is going to be located in another table at times, okay, as an ID. This is going to be how we're able to develop this connection that relates these two tables together. Well, if you do this multiple times, you're creating what's called a relational database. All of the data can be referenced in another place to complete this story of how we want to use our data and what it can be used for. Typically, I use a lot of data when I first started out with this for analysis and typically report writing. But remember, every software company needs multiple DBAs, database administrators, and they're the ones that kind of maintain all of the data. Okay? So SQL continued. What the heck else can we do with SQL? Well, we can update databases, we can delete data from databases, we can query databases, and also we can insert data into databases. These are going to be more so the mechanical aspects of SQL. Okay? Through these mechanical aspects, this is how we're able to retrieve these individual pieces of data that tell the bigger story, okay, for analysis. Remember, it's all about being able to take small pieces of data, invoke it within some type of software program, and allow it to tell a story, okay? Turn that data into information that is usable by users. So how the heck do we get the data? Well, we get the data through what's called a relational database management system, as I just mentioned. And there's about 5 main players out there. You have Oracle, you have MySQL, you have Microsoft SQL Server, which is going to be the one that we're using today. And I'll show you how to download that here in a sec. PostgreSQL and also SQLite. Okay? Doesn't hurt to know all of them. I'll be honest, I don't know SQLite. I've used PostgreSQL. Oracle DB is probably the most difficult one to learn, but most of the companies that I've worked for utilize Microsoft SQL Server. So without further ado, let's go on ahead and download SQL Server. Easiest way to do this is going to be by going to google.com. And searching SQL Server Express 2014 download. It should be the first option. It's going to take you to this screen. If we scroll down, that has a download button. We click on that download button, and it's going to take us to a screen that says, hey, which version of Microsoft SQL Server Express 2014 do you want to download? The one that we're going to need for this class is Express and Tools, okay? They have a 32-bit version and also a 64-bit version that you can download based on your particular system. I have a 64-bit computer, so I'm going to download this one. We're going to click Next. And that download should automatically begin. Now, I already have SQL Server downloaded on my computer, so I don't want to have to go through this process again. But it might take a minute for it to download since it's large. I want to tell you two things about this download. Whenever you actually open up the download, there's going to be two screens that I want you to take note of. There's a screen in which you can name your server. And by default, the name of this server is SQL Express. Feel free to change that to anything you want to change it to, but make sure you remember what you name it to. By default, it's SQL Express. So honestly, I'll say just go ahead and keep it as that. It just makes the process a little bit easier. Second off, there's going to be a screen that you come to in which it talks about authentication, how you get signed into SQL Server. By default, it's Windows Authentication. Keep it as Windows Authentication because each time you go into SQL Server Management Studio, you're going to have to connect to your server. And when you connect to that server, it's going to authenticate you and anybody else who's going to have access to it. Well, by default, let's go on ahead and have it connect to our Windows authentication, what we use to sign in to our computers every single day. Okay. Once again, if you want to be, rebellious and specify your own user ID and password, be my guest, but that's just something else that you're going to have to remember. So feel free, pause the video, go on ahead and get SQL Server downloaded. After you get it downloaded, start it back up. And I'm going to show you where we're going to get the class file to be used within our database. For those of you that do have SQL Server downloaded already, we're going to be using a sample database that's called AdventureWorks. It's a really good database. It has all of the information we'll probably need in order to learn SQL, which is great. You can find this file by going to my website, www.sekutech.com. And from there, let me log out. From there, you're going to go to Forum. And then we're going to scroll down to the SQL forum. We're going to click on SQL class files. And next to class 1 introduction to SQL, we're going to click download. And that file is going to automatically download. Now from here, after it downloads, we're going to go to the file location. And we're going to extract the file. We're going to right click it, click on extract all. That file is going to extract. And we're going to copy the AdventureWorks 2014.bak file. And we're going to paste it in our C drive. We're going to go to Program Files. And we're going to find our Microsoft SQL Server folder. If yours hasn't finished downloading yet, then you probably don't have one. If yours has, then this gets automatically generated. And we're just going to paste it in. Since I already have it, I'm going to click replace, but yours should go right in. And this file contains all of the data within the database that we're going to be using. Okay. So next, all that's left to do is to open up SQL Server. And once SQL Server Management Studio opens, it might take a second, but it's going to bring us to the home page in which We choose what server we want to connect to, and also how we want to connect. So yours should automatically default. If it doesn't automatically default, then type a period, backslash, then the name of your server. So if you left it at SQL Express, then this is going to be where you put in SQL Express. If not, you're just going to specify the name of your server that you created during your download. Also, your authentication is going to default to Windows authentication. But if you created your own login user ID and your own password, you'll put that in right here, and then you'll hit connect. Okay, it should pick you up. Now, to connect our AdventureWorks database, we're going to expand the databases. We're going to right click it, and then we're just going to click on new database. Let's name our database AdventureWorks 2014, and then we click OK. And I misspelled mine because I was terrible at English. Now, next, to connect that file, we right click on our AdventureWorks 2014 database. We come down to tasks, and then we go to restore. Click on database. Next, once the box opens, we're going to go under source and click on device. We're going to click on these three dots, and we're just going to find where we put the file, which should be located in the Microsoft SQL Server folder. Might take a couple of seconds for it to pop up. Here it is. We're going to click add. We're going to close these folders. And then we're going to go to program files, Microsoft SQL Server, and that file should be located right here. Click it, click OK. Click OK again, and it's going to automatically add it. After that, we're going to go down to options. Under restore options, we're going to click on overwrite the existing database, and then we're going to hit OK. It's going to load in that data. It's successful. And now if we expand our AdventureWorks 2014 database, under tables, you should see all of the tables that we're going to be using today. Looks good. And that's everything that I have today. So in the next video, we're actually going to start doing some SQL programming. We're going to query this database, and I'm going to show you how to use the select statement. So I'm glad because all of y'all are about to become database programmers. It's going to be great. So I got to go get something to eat because you all know that I'm constantly hungry. I'll catch you all in the next video once I'm refreshed. See y'all later. Bye.